Breaking news right before we go live tonight on Sunday night. The Royals have extended Seth Lugo, multi-year deal coming, breaking right before we go live here. Lots to talk about. This changes a lot about what we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. Once we get through that bit of news, talk about this Cleveland series, the trade that happened on Saturday, the slew of injuries, and what this means moving forward. Live on One Royal Way. Here we go. We're back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in here live on a Sunday night. As always, here we go on this show. My brain is scattered because I did not think a Seth Lugo extension was coming, at least now, maybe this offseason. But here we go. Nate, hopping in the chat here to kind of help drive this conversation. I'm now very confused with the direction of this team. Bubic, in all likelihood, is going to be out for a while. This team isn't going anywhere this year, even with Lugo extended. I think, and this is my overarching point with this extension. Now, again, this is the contract is being finalized. We have not seen the official numbers yet. Jeff Passan had it first. Feinsand and Ken Rosenthal are all working on this. Andy Rogers is saying, that the Royals were eager to keep Lugo in Kansas City. This got done quicker than the offseason. It sounded like they were going to try and have him be, a part of this, going forward, that they wanted him here, but I don't know if they were going to be able to play in the free agent pool that he was going to be kind of swimming in that $20 to $25 million range, on a 3 or 4 year deal. I don't know if the Royals were going to be able to do that or contend doing that. But they got it done, and they got it done now, which is the shocking part to me. The fact that they were able to have this conversation and get this done with Seth Lugo now. Where this team is at, they're 52-54 after taking 2 or 3 from the Guardians. They're 5-4 since the All-Star break. Better as of late, obviously taking 2 or 3 from the Cubs and 2 or 3 from Cleveland. Atlanta coming into town to start this week. I don't think it doesn't change anything for me regarding this season. I think this team just kind of is what it is. They are a team that, struggles offensively. They're obviously pitching well, despite some injuries and some major attrition that they have dealt with this season and are going to deal with moving forward. Thank you, Chris. Breaking news team had to do it. This isn't going to be on much longer. My office does not have air conditioning, and I'm on the top floor of the house. Hot air rises. I'm sweating, and it's not great. But, as is tradition at KCSN breaking news, got to throw on the jacket. This is a move for 2026. Jordan praying it's 26 and 27 with the mutual or club for 28. I could see it being a straight 3-year deal. That to me is what could have gotten this deal done. I bet the initial conversations were 2 in a mutual or 2 in a club. I bet this is a straight 3-year deal. And that sounds crazy for a guy that's 36. But as we've talked about before, Seth Lugo is a younger 35, 36-year-old pitcher than what we've seen. What you would predominantly see for a guy that's getting a 2 to 3 year deal like this in the past, being a predominant reliever most of his career, and then this is now his 3rd full season starting. So this is fascinating to me that they got this done. And again, to me, this is more about next year and beyond than it is this season. I think this team, to their credit, whether it is the right move, the prudent move, they're going to go down swinging this year. And that may not mean they make the playoffs, but they're not going to punt on this. And I think there's credit. Similar to Walker deal, I think it's going to be more. I don't think that Seth Lugo would take an extension that was – because he's making about 15. Walker's deal is about 17, I believe. It's 3 for 51. This, to me, is going to be in the range of like a 3 for 66 or a 3 for 67, something like that. Like $22 to $23 million. And credit, and I know it's ownership is kind of the lowest common denominator dunk that people want to make. Credit to John Sherman for going, we need to keep this guy around and opening the pocketbook. I can't think of many other times in the history of this organization that the owner was willing to do something like that. and this is not to besmirch the name of David Glass or anything like that, but I don't think he would do this. I think this is serious work by John Sherman, and there's credit to be deserved there. Harold, I'm looking at Twitter. I'm trying to get the numbers here for you guys. Harold Kuntz over at Fox 4 said, shout out to Jeff at Royal Security, who assured me today Lugo was not going anywhere, wanted to stay in Kansas City and finish his career, according to Jeff, again at Royal Security, which is, hey, maybe that's the source that we need. What a fascinating time for Kansas City. At least you're at B-Patch 25. At least you go into next season knowing you have Reagans, Lugo, Waka, Bubic, and Cameron. That is a great starting five, health assuming. That's one of the best fives in baseball, assuming health, which is obviously a big if when it comes to Reagans. It's a big if for Bubic now. Cameron, I mean, if Cameron's your number 5, I mean, he might be the best 5 in baseball if he's able to continue to progress as we go forward here. But I mean, wow, I'm blown away, and I wish I had a better, analysis here, but this happened so quickly and something completely unexpected. But it makes me even more optimistic for 26. I had kind of wiped my hands of this season. I don't think the offense is good enough. It kind of is what it is. It's too inconsistent. And I just don't know if it's enough to be a tenable sort of thing. But I know the pitching is going to be solid. And it has been for the vast majority of this season, despite the attrition that they've taken in the rotation and to the bullpen at times. But, man, something about this team, and to this front office, they believe in this group. That, hey, you know what? It may not happen for us this year, but we're going to go down to the last day and fight our ass off to get there. They were not kidding when they said, hey, we're going to be buyers, and, we don't view ourselves as buyers ourselves. We're going to make this team better. And they've done that. B-Patch 25 again hopping in. Thank you. Do you also think they make a run at Durant in the winter meeting? Sounds like Boston isn't trading Durant at the deadline. That would be a really interesting move. We talked about Durant a little bit on the last episode. Rosenthal had kind of reported that it was a possible sort of, something that could happen. The Royals like him. But I wasn't sure if Boston would do it. But this offseason, it could be very interesting. I'm fascinated with the rest of what this does to the clubhouse. Because there is sort of the thing you can't quantify, which is what does, instead of the kind of the looming conversation is, okay, when Seth's last day going to be here? We talked about it. It's talked about all over baseball. Seth Lugo is going to be one of the top trade targets. The Royals are probably going to move him. What can you get back for him? That conversation, whether these guys, they want to talk about it or not, they hear those conversations. They know what it's like. They read their phones. They see all this stuff. They drive around town and hear these conversations on the radio and whatever else. As much as they want to block it out, it's just human nature. But to hear instead the conversation be, Seth Lugo's not going anywhere. And that stamp of approval from the front office and from ownership to go, we're keeping this guy because he's helped us win a bunch of ball games and he's going to keep helping us win ball games. We're not going anywhere. If that is kind of the fire up the boys moment that this team is needed, they got a big one. Fire up the boys moment when India kind of gets some retribution from getting ear-holed by Clase, walk-off homer. They get knocked down a little bit in game 2. Bubic gets hurt and is done for a while. It's I don't know that you get a big win today. You win that series. You keep yourself in the wild card. And then Sunday night, you find out one of the best pitchers on your team for the last 2 years is staying in Kansas City and is going to be a part of this team for the next, 2 to 3 years. That's an unbelievable move and something that I do think could be a thing that turns the corner. I've talked about a few different angles of, maybe when is this going to happen for this team? I don't know if it's ever going to happen for this particular team, but I think for the organization as we move forward, it could be something. Do they make any more trades? I could see them making a couple small moves. I think this signals now, Stevez isn't going anywhere. I don't think Freddie Fermin's going anywhere. I don't think there's going to be any selling. I think but I don't think that necessarily means they're going to buy either, like buy big and really take a massive swing. I don't necessarily see them doing that either. This feels like the deadline buy. We're keeping Seth Lugo around, and he's going to be here moving forward. We're not selling, and that's the way we're going to handle this. So I can see it being like maybe a small move here or there, like, maybe a Daniel Lynch or something. I don't know. Like, I could see them making like a small reliever move. Maybe they see if a bat's available, maybe they take a swing on somebody, but I don't think it ends up being anything significant. And then we're kind of having the conversation like we did going into last offseason. Okay, what's the kind of the get over the hump move? They thought it was going to be Jonathan India for Brady Singer. That has not worked out the way that we all thought it might. But maybe as B-Patch mentioned, that, maybe Duran is the offseason move. And with 2 years of control, you're willing to give up a decent penny for it and go from there. But this is a huge deal for the Royals. Something that we never really foresaw, that not only do the Royals make the moves they did in free agency, but those guys want to stay in Kansas City, that they want to be here and they want to be a part of this organization. That is massive for Major League Baseball as a whole. Yes, they're not going out and signing $200 million pitchers, but Seth Lugo was the runner-up in Cy Young last year and is going to finish in the top 10. Michael Wacha is about as steady as they come. And they could have taken bigger paydays elsewhere probably, but it sounds like they just want to be in Kansas City. And they love that stability at this point in their career. There is something to be said for that, and I think it speaks very highly of this organization and where they're at going forward. Let's go ahead and take our break now. If the news, the money comes in, we'll talk about that. We'll hit on this Cleveland series, the trade for Randal Grichuk, and a bunch of moves, that had, IL moves and roster moves that happened over the last couple of days. We'll do that right after this break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for the Royals opening up the checkbook. They have extended Seth Lugo, according to Jeff Pass, and the numbers have not come in yet. Hopefully, as we're still live on this show, that number does come through and we're able to find out what that looks like and what that means for this team going forward from a contract perspective. The Royals, as I mentioned, they take 2 or 3 from Cleveland and desperately needed it. Obviously, the game got banged on Friday night because of the rain. So Twin Bill on Saturday, game one that you win it in dramatic fashion with Jonathan India walk-off home run. And they get a couple early in this game. Michael Garcia with a 2-run home run. He gets going, and Mikey's been hot for the last couple of games. He overall just in the 3-game homestand or in the 3-game series, two homers, 2 triples, swinging the bat well. Made a great play at third base in game 2 of this series. I was at game 2. Obviously, that one wasn't as pretty. You lose 6-4. But to win that game when it looked like they had kind of snatched defeat from the jaws of victory again, like they did in Miami, were able to come back and get it done. And I had admittedly kind of resigned myself to the fact that they were going to lose. And that is, I understand that sounds defeatist, and that's not the way that I need to be handling the way that I watch these games. But Tyler Tolbert's at second base. You're down 3-2. And John Ray takes a walk, and Clase's in. And now Clase's awesome, and he's a great closer, and he's been a great reliever for the better part of a half decade now. But for some reason, the Royals just kind of kick his ass, and I can't figure out why. It may just be a familiarity thing. But John Ray walks, and then now it's first and second, nobody out. Luke Maley comes up and goes to lay down a bunt. Tyler Tolbert gets caught leaning, and he gets picked off. And it was just one of those same sort of things we've seen all year of maddening base running mistakes, running the Royals out of innings. And just like when you get one of the fastest dudes in baseball, that's at second base, he's a tying run, and he gets thrown out in that spot. Like that is about as brutal as it gets. Luke Maley then walks. It's Jonathan India, who, as I mentioned off the top, if you remember back to April, first series of the year, Clase gave him 99 to his ear hole, smoked him. And that was obviously a very frustrating thing. Not handled well, obviously, but I mean, who would when you get hit like that? And you wondered, okay, when is there going to be any sort of get back? Are the Royals going to go and plunk a Guardian and, hey, we'll wipe our hands of it, we're good? We never saw anything like that. But Jonathan India gets the sweetest revenge that you can. And he goes and hits a walk-off home run off of him. And he crushed it. 3-run homer, first ever walk-off home run for Jonathan India. A great moment for him. Obviously, the season's he's been underwhelming relative to what the expectation was for this team, coming into the year and for what we expected from him. But for him to have that moment, that's awesome. And that's easily his best moment of the year and just a massive thing. Walker pitched well. Ursig looked a little more like the guy we know. Estevez worked through a little bit of danger, as he always does, but got out of the inning just fine. 2 strikeouts. And just a well-played game. They handled that game pretty well. It was obviously not the prettiest, but they found a way to win. And at this point in the year, that's all that I care about. I don't care how it looks. I just want to see them win ball games. Game 2 was very different. And I thought, okay, you win game 2. You got Kris Bubic, who got pulled a little bit early in the previous game in Miami after he was pitching well. Okay. Now they have a chance to pour it on, win 2, and you got a chance for a sweep tomorrow. And even though Bybee has been very tough on the Royals for pretty much his entire career, maybe they have a chance here. And Bubic was erratic. He was all over the place. And the fastball, I'm at the game, I'm watching, but I'm not in the press box. I'm actually watching as a fan for the first time this year. I was there with my wife and my younger sister. And Bubic is just spraying the ball. No feel for his breaking ball at all. And the fastball was missing arm side and up. I'm like, something isn't right. And especially, it was 88, 89 when he's been 92, 93, 94 most of the season. Something's not right. Walked the first 4 batters of the game. And it wasn't close. I think he threw 27 pitches. 27 of his first 27 pitches, 6 were strikes. It wasn't close. He battles, only gives up 3, which, given bases loaded, nobody out, you've already walked in a run. That's a bit of a Houdini act in and of itself. He only gets through 2 2/3. Bolin kind of gets blown up, and that's it. Freddie gets a homer, Bobby gets a homer, but there really wasn't much else to speak of offensively. But Mike Hill hit a triple late when it was 6-4, and you think maybe they're going to be able to get a chance, but Salvi one pitch ground out, and that's the inning. And then Clase comes back in and gets it done. Today's game, another kind of quintessential Noah Cameron start. Gives you 5 solid innings. Houdini act in the first inning, bases loaded, nobody out, get none across. That is absolutely unbelievable. You get 2 in the first on RBI groundouts. Michael hits a home run and pimped it, and I thought that was awesome. 10th home run on the season for him. You get another one late on a Luke Maley. I think it was Luke Maley. I say late. It was the 5th. God dog it, where it was. That was in the 5th. Luke Maley doubled in the 4th. I had it backwards. And it's 4-1. They get one across in the 7th when Angel Severi got up a home run to Gabriel Arias. But no other real threats from Cleveland otherwise, and you win the series. Esteves gets his 27th save. Noah Cameron, 2 down, ERA down 2.44, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Another starter where he's able to limit walks, and the strikeouts started to tick up for him. So he's getting a lot more confidence and has been pitching very well. And I wanted to come into this game and be like, this series, and my original thought was, okay, this doesn't mean anything, ultimately. Like, this team is still 4 back the wild card, even with that. Last I checked, they were still 4 back the wild card spot. And even though Detroit is really struggling right now, they're still back 8.5 games, and you're 4 back the wild card spot. Now, even with that, you still got to jump 5 teams. So I don't think it matters. But I think what they showed is we're still going to give it a run, man. Like, we don't care. We think we still have a chance, and maybe it's you call it delusion, you call it hopeless optimism. I give them credit for wanting to keep sticking this thing out. They made a trade yesterday it was like 3rd inning. Guy in front of me goes, what? And he, I'm intrigued. What's he talking about? They made the trade for Randal Grichuk. Jordan, hopping in the chat here. I'll talk more about this here in just a second. Looks like we have some details on Seth Lugo in Kansas City per Annie Rogers. Let me see if I can get the reporting here. So it's a 2-year contract with a vesting option for 2028. We still don't have any news on dollars yet. That's a steal for Kansas City. You'd only get a 2-year deal, and I'm curious what the stipulations are for the vesting option. I'd imagine good shot he hits it, and it ends up being a 3-year deal. But that's a steal for Kansas City, because I bet Lugo would get more on the open market, probably get a true 3 years. That is unbelievable by JJ and company. And also shout out to Lugo for wanting to stay. There is something to be said for that, right? Like, guys that wants that stability at this point in their career. And like Lugo, he has young kids. Like, I can't imagine he wants to go to another city. Like, there are certain elements for, like, on the human side that, kind of play into this as well. Back to, once we get the money, if anyone sees the money while I'm talking, please pop it in the chat. We'll talk about it. If anyone sees the dollars that come through. Royals made a trade for an outfielder, Randal Grichuk. He's obviously been around the big leagues for quite a while now. They traded him for Andrew Hoffman, who's kind of, got a cup of coffee with Kansas City, but kind of blocked, not necessarily an answer long-term in the bullpen from what we've seen, but a massive, not a massive, but like I wanted to say massive because I think my brain is still talking about the Lugo thing. Initially, I'm like, I don't think this really does anything for me. Like, it just doesn't. Like, he's got 179 or 192 plate appearances. He's slashing 240, 276, 453. It's a 729 OPS. Like, I understand that it's a low bar to clear, but that's one of the better OPSs on the Royals. They needed outfield help. And part of the reason why is Jack got hurt. He went on the injured list with a hamstring strain. I don't think they necessarily made this move for that reason. but it is part of it. I'm sure it factored in a little bit once the IL stint was that quick. Jack went to go beat out a ground ball, hamstring started barking, and that's that. And now he's on the shelf for a little while. They need the outfield help. MJ Melendez comes back up. That's nothing. That's a nothing burger to me. I don't think it's ultimately going to do anything. This is kind of the last ditch effort for him to show that he's a big leaguer, in my opinion. And early returns have not been awesome. I thought he hit a walk-off home run, I will say, in game one, but that's about the most that he's done to this point. If you want the optimistic side of what Grichuk brings, I mean, there is legitimate right-handed power. He's got a track record of that throughout his career. Home run numbers have not been great, but he also has not been a full-time player for a while now. He had an 876 OPS last season. I believe that was with the Diamondbacks. But if you want, some of the underlying numbers that, show, hey, maybe this could work. The expected batting average is 274. The expected slug is 510. He barrels the ball with regularity. Hard hit percentage is 53%. He doesn't swing and miss a ton. The strikeout rate's in a manageable spot. He doesn't walk a lot, but that also is kind of part and parcel with Kansas City. One thing he has done fairly well throughout his career is hit fastballs. He had a 9-run value on fastballs last year, 1 this year, 5 on sinkers. So again, kind of the fastball variant. He's hitting 277, slugging 532 on fastballs. Aren't many guys on Kansas City doing those things. The expected is 302, 624 slash between those two. And that's something this team needs. Guys that can punish heaters. They just don't have a lot of guys that are able to do those things. I don't think this is kind of like the Adam Frazier move. To me, this isn't a massive needle mover, but it is an improvement over what is currently constructed on this roster. And then some of the guys that they've run out there from an offensive perspective in the outfield, you can do a lot worse than what Randal Grichuk has done this year. Okay, so we got money here. It looks like it is a 2 for $46 million deal. So $23 million a season, right in that range of 20 to 25 that we just talked about. That is not including the vesting option. Yeah, $46 million over 2 years, according to John Heyman. Wow. Kansas City really, they ponied up here. This organization deserves a lot of credit. And I know that it's easy to punch down and fans get frustrated to, just wish Chiefs training camp is here and they don't care anymore. Like, this team could have rolled over and died, and they could have just been like, you know what? It's just not happening for us this year. And instead, they turn around and they make a move to try and improve the roster from the offensive perspective yesterday. Whether you think Randal Grichuk is a needle mover or not, is they are trying to do what they can to get back to the playoffs because they know they can't take a step back. And they signed Seth Lugo and extend him. How many times in Kansas City history have they ever done that? Extended a player midseason like him, like a free agent, a guy that was going to be a free agent. It's like the Bobby extension is a little different because he still had years of club control. Lugo was going to go and probably make that type of money on the open market. And they said, okay, we'll do it. That's pretty damn awesome for this organization. I'm fired up about that because I love watching Seth Lugo pitch. He obviously means a lot to that clubhouse, to the organization from a leadership perspective. It's huge. This is a huge, huge, huge deal for Kansas City and for a big win for small market teams, right? And especially our small market team. There were a lot of moves made transaction-wise, and we talked about some of them. Obviously, like trades and injuries are part of that, but I'll go through all of those just to make sure we hit all of those. So the transactions that we've seen as of late, this is just over the last couple of days, really, since we last talked. Where are we at? Okay, so on the 23rd, Nick Lofton was put on the 7-day concussion list. MJ Melendez is back up, and Andrew Hoffman had been sent down the previous day. Jonathan Bolin was optioned on Friday when they activated Hunter Harvey from the injured list. Kevin Biggio DFA to make the roster spot for Hunter Harvey. And then for the doubleheader, they recalled Jonathan Bolin for the doubleheader, and then they optioned him back down because he had to be returned. And then they made the trade for Randal Grichuk for Andrew Hoffman. Tyler Gentry had been DFA'd as well as part of this. And then after they had optioned Bolin back, they recalled him because of the injury to Kris Bubic, who went on the 15-day injured list with a left rotator cuff strain, which explains a lot of the velocity, command issues. He mentioned after the game, something's not right. I got to get this figured out, which is concerning. When you don't really hear guys admit those sort of things post-game. So if he's doing that, it's pretty serious. I don't know if Kris Bubic is going to pitch again this year. I don't even know if that's a prudent thing for them to do. If it's a rotator cuff strain, that's the same thing that, the Cole Reagan's had, and he's missed, 2+ months at this point. If that's the case, then it's the end of September, and who knows if you're in it or not. And that's best case scenario. It depends on the severity of it. It sucks because Bubic has been so great all season, and you hate for that to be the reason why, he's missing time. Another arm injury, not his elbow, but his shoulder. Rotator cuffs are tricky, and you just wish him the best, and you hope that, at a minimum, he's just ready and back for next season. That might be the best thing for this team. We may have to watch a rotation for a little bit of Michael Wacha, Noah Cameron, Seth Lugo, Dallas Keuchel, and Rich Hill. That may be what we need to see right now just to get by for a little bit. They don't really have the depth, for Luinder Avila. Luinder Avila is not ready, and he's also injured. They don't have – Chandler Champlain is not a big league pitcher right now. They just don't have any other options. That's why I wonder if maybe there's a small – Michael Lorenzen will come back, sooner rather than later, and, maybe that helps a little bit. But that also could be a guy that you move to try and, recoup something back for next season and for the rest of the season and for next. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle this next stretch. But I think what we do know is the Royals are not going to be major sellers, and I don't think they'll be major buyers. I think they're just going to let this thing ride, go down swinging with what they have, hope that you get 2 awesome months out of Bobby, Vinny, Salvi, Michael, and hope that the pitching is going to be able to hold up. And I know that that's a lot of wishful thinking. I understand that. But they're going for it. And I give them credit for that because there aren't many teams that are in this position that would continue to try and go for it. Maybe it's futile. Maybe it's foolish. But major credit to the organization for getting the Lugo extension done. It sets you up for 2026 where you still feel like you're going to be in contention, which they have talked about. Every bit of what they do this year is going to try and make themselves better for now and for the future. And that's part of this is what Seth Lugo is going to be able to bring for you. And I think it's awesome. And I think he's slated to pitch in this series against the Atlanta Braves. I can't imagine how awesome the ovation that he's going to get is going to be. That's going to be so cool at Kauffman Stadium this week. I'm pulling up the games now just to make sure I get the probables, and then we'll get on out of here. So I'm done, so that I'm done rambling, sound like an idiot for most of this episode, as I pretty much have. It's going to be Rich Hill making his Kauffman Stadium debut as a Royal against Spencer Strider. You want to see a dichotomy of ways to go about being a pitcher. Spencer Strider versus Rich Hill is about as stark as you get. That's 6:40 first pitch, 6:40 first pitch as well on Tuesday, and that will be a Seth Lugo start. Still TBD for Atlanta. They're pitching, all 5, if I saw it today, all 5 of their guys that were in their starting rotation to begin the season are on the 60-day injured list. That is just brutal. And they're 44 and 60. They're in a tough spot. And then it's still TBD for Kansas City. With Joey Wentz, a local product. I want to say he's out of one of the Olathe schools. Forgive me. But regardless, he's a Kansas City kid. Going to be pitching for the Braves. That's a 1:10 getaway day. First pitch on Wednesday, the 30th. You wanted to see this team now. Okay, let's see how far we can take this thing. they're 5-4. I was hoping, they were going to have to go 8-4, 9-3 to really feel like they can buy. But it kind of changes the math on what this is going to look like moving forward for this team for the rest of the season. Extending Lugo, he's not going anywhere. They want to go for it. They want to handle this like, hey, the wild card is still wide open. 2 good weeks, and we're really in this thing. And at that point, you're playing winning baseball. Winning is an infectious thing, and who knows what kind of run you can get into. And then it's just about getting in. At this point, I talked about at the beginning of the year, like they need to make the divisional round, replicate what they did last season, and I feel like that's a success. Anything short, like even just making the playoffs, felt like it wasn't good enough. Now you get in, given where you were at, and given all the injuries. I mean, that's a significant difference in the way that the outlook of this season can be viewed. And even if they fall a few games short, I mean, obviously it'll be disappointing. It's a step backwards, but they gave it a shot when a lot of people felt like they needed to go in the other direction and just sell, and move on. And they kind of cut against the grain, and it's a little unconventional, especially for a small market team, but signing pitchers for $23 million is not something that Kansas City has really ever done. And buy guys away from free agency, like they did with Michael Walker, like they did with Seth Lugo. It's a new era in Kansas City when it comes to that. So I think I've said it multiple times on the show, a lot of credit deserved to the organization. I'm going to toast game to John Sherman, JJ Piccolo, Seth Lugo, and everybody in the organization for getting this deal done and kind of moving things forward for the 2026 season and 2027 and beyond. The standard's been set, and we'll see where they go. But I do want to give a little bit of a personal toast game, and this is my show, so I'm going to do this. Really cool moment for me tonight. Before the show, I went down to Lawrence, and recently I had a former Little League coach of mine from when I lived in Washington State. This is in 2006 and 2007. We've kept in touch over the years. So this is my 10U coach when I played for the Rainier Dodgers out in Yelm, Washington. And he reached out and was like, hey, I'm going to be in Lawrence for a conference for work this weekend. Let's meet up and have dinner. It's been too long. I haven't seen him since 2008. So it's been 17 years. And I'll call it Coach Mark Benson was his name. We sat at dinner tonight, and it was one of the cooler experiences that I've gotten to have in a long time. And this, if you take any message away from this, it's that baseball is a unifying thing. And it's this is like one of those reasons why I love this game so damn much. That year that he coached me, my dad was deployed. My dad was in Iraq. My dad was in the Army. He was deployed, and he was gone for 15 months. He missed basically this entire season that Coach Benson was my head coach. And so he was a father figure to me. He treated me as that. He took me under his wing. He had 3 boys, but he took me under his wing, and he treated me like that. And he meant a lot to me. And they said, you keep in touch with people over the years, the power of social media to be able to keep in touch. And and it's something he gave me that the day there was a game, and it was a game I pitched, we won. It was my first pitching win, right? And I was 9 years old, and it was cool. And I know pitching wins are what they are, but when you're a kid, it means a lot. And he wrote me out a ball. It had my name, first pitching win, date, and the team we played. And he gave it to me. We took a picture. We sent it to my dad. And it was a really cool moment. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. Well, tonight I found that ball in my my closet at my parents' house before we left. And I was able to show it to him. And it damn near made him cry. It's making me cry right now. The impact that coaches can have, especially on little leaguers, when you're growing up in the game, can mean the world. That impact, it means a lot. And I was so fortunate to have some great people in my life during that time, especially him, with my dad not being there. And those people stay in your life. They say you can't choose family, but sometimes you can. And that was what that was to me. So toast game to Coach Benson, and maybe for anybody else who may have a similar story of someone had a great impact on your life. That's why I love baseball so much. With that, and this is a happy story for sure. With that, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, listening to me ramble for 40 minutes as my show got thrown in a completely different direction with the Seth Lugo extension. But appreciate y'all. We'll get on out of here. Have a great night.